Another big day at the UN General Assembly. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told fellow world leaders that Israel must finish the job against Hamas in Gaza.
His comments sparking mixed reactions, with dozens of delegates from many nations walking out of the assembly hall as he began. Outside, huge crowds protested, marching from Times Square to the east side. We have team coverage tonight. Ali Bauman is covering the demonstrations outside. We want to begin here with Doug Williams, who has more on Netanyahu's speech. Doug.
Jessica and Dick, Netanyahu spent much of Friday's address declaring that the Israeli military's actions in the region should be seen as victories made in defense of Israel's freedom from terrorist regimes in the Middle East. But the prime minister's beliefs are shared by a shrinking percentage of Americans, according to recent polling. And as many delegates, left the assembly hall, Netanyahu approached the podium prepared to target their opposition and its merits.
Place order in the hall.
At the UN on Friday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was greeted by dozens of delegate departures from the assembly hall. Netanyahu touted what he sees as Israeli victories in the Middle East, using visuals to do so on multiple occasions. First, a map of the region checking off nations in which the Prime Minister says Israeli forces succeeded in weakening or destroying terrorist regimes. Regimes he later displayed in a multiple-choice question titled, "Who shouts death to America?" The answer, he says, is all the above.
Israel has had to fight a seven-front war against barbarism, with many of your nations opposing us. Astoundingly, as we fight the terrorists who murdered many of your citizens, you are fighting us.
Netanyahu made direct appeals to Americans while praising President Trump for the U.S. military's attack on Iran's nuclear sites. As for the war in Gaza, Netanyahu reiterated his opposition to a two-state solution, one recently embraced by France, the U.K., and Canada, among others. He also pushed back once again on UN-backed reports of famine at the hands of the Israelis in Gaza and accusations of genocide.
We're trying to get them out, and Hamas is trying to keep them in.
It is a famine that we could have prevented if we had been allowed. Yet food stacks up at borders because of systematic obstruction by Israel.
Netanyahu called on Hamas to release the hostages and vowed to, quote, finish the job in Gaza. Rhetoric that doesn't seem to suggest an imminent ceasefire, in contrast to what President Trump said Friday morning.
It's looking like we have a deal on Gaza. I think it's a deal that will get the hostages back. It's going to be a deal that will end the war.
So as we await further details on those comments from the White House, an announcement from the global organization known in the U.S. as Doctors Without Borders. They are suspending their work in Gaza, they say, due to the intensified Israeli offensive and the, quote, unacceptable level of risk to their staff. Jessica, Dick.
Wow, it's a major development. Doug, thank you.